Hello, everybody. Today we are going to be talking about the movie The Princess, which just came out on, well, Hulu, I guess, but also, yeah, original film only on Hulu. And I guess Disney Plus just bought out Hulu, so it's on Disney Plus if you want to go watch it. And now Hulu is actually available in Canada, which is awesome. Thanks to Disney Plus for, I'm assuming they bought them out. I don't know for sure, but I guess Hulu is part of Disney Plus now, so that's pretty awesome, and we get to see some of the new movies. Now, maybe Hulu is part of the Star thing that they bought, because, yeah, like, Disney Plus has a lot on there now, and I think it kind of gives them more of an option to do, like, I guess instead of, like, the PG rated movies, they can go rated R with some of the movies they're going to make in the future, which this one was, and for good reason. I wouldn't really say the violence was over the top or whatever, but the whole movie was violent in its own sense. Now, gore-wise, it wasn't really that insane, and it kind of starts out. It's not your typical Disney princess movie, that's for sure, where it's just like a damsel in distress type situation, and she doesn't know how to get out of it. This girl knew how to fight. And throughout the movie, we kind of find out how she was, not kind of find out, we do find out how she was trained under, I guess with the help of her mother and a couple of other people, obviously, but her father just wanted her to do her duty and marry the prince because they don't have like an heir to the throne because she is a girl, right? So unfortunately, she has to marry into another family so they have an heir to the throne, I guess, which is what her father was thinking anyway. But she ends up being trapped in the very beginning of the movie, and these two guards come up, and it was kind of confusing because I was like, are they her guards or are they somebody else's guards? And they're just trying to keep her locked up in this tower or whatever they were trying to do. Well, they did a very horrible job of that because she ends up escaping and basically just working her way down the tower as she's fighting all these guards off with almost no help for most of the movie until her friend ends up helping her. Geez, which one? Where is her? Yes, Lynn, I guess was yeah, played by Veronica NGO. How would you pronounce her last name? I'm just gonna say Veronica NGO played Lynn, because yeah, I'm not sure. Nigo, Nigo, Nagu. I'm probably butchering that, but and then Dominic Cooper played Julius, who was the bad guy. Christopher Kamayusa played Kai. Ed Stoppard played the main character's father. I'll get to her name in a second. Ed Stoppard played the king. Alex Reid played the queen. And, oh yes, her sister, Caitlin Rose Downey, played Violet, who was her sister. And the woman that was with Julius was played by Olga Kurlenko, played Moira, I believe is how I pronounce that. And then Joey King played the princess. Oh God, what was her actual name? Or did they just refer to her as princess throughout the entire movie? I'm trying to think. I swear to God, she had an actual name, but not really. I guess you discover that in the movie. But yeah, I can't really remember what else they called her besides princess. But anyway, so she was trained by Kai and with her, she was trained by Kai and with her best friend, Lynn, when she was younger, I guess. Yeah, quite a bit younger, because she was about, I guess, her sister's age, she said, when she was originally wanting to be trained to become a fighter, as opposed to being just a regular old typical princess and doing her whole civic duty type deal and all that. But oh my God, this movie got such a bad such bad reviews for what it was on IMDb, at least, because I was looking through it, and people were saying there was really no story. But I mean, the story was simple, I would say, which is, I agreed with one of the reviews on here. The story was simple and to the point. But yeah, I think they took it and kind of twisted it in a unique angle where you're kind of learning the story backwards as she's going down the tower. You're getting bits and pieces, which was kind of cool. And they didn't make this character. I feel like they do that in a lot of action movies, where the hero is just so undeniably stronger than the rest of the people that they never seem to get hurt. And this was kind of a nice turn on that, where even though she was just a step ahead of the other soldiers, obviously, as far as like hand-to-hand combat skills go, um, she wasn't completely invincible, right? Like, uh, she ends up getting hurt quite a bit in this movie, so it was kind of nice to see that they gave the character a little bit of vulnerability as opposed to just, oh yeah, she's just kicking ass the entire way down and she doesn't get hurt, and of course she's just gonna kill everybody, right? But this was kind of like a kind of an unpredictable, because you were like, is she actually going to make it to the bottom? Because there were certain scenes where it was like, oh yeah, she's not going to be able to fight that many guys off. It kind of seemed like she could handle her own against like at least 3 or 4 at a time, but then when the group got too big, she got overwhelmed in those situations and had to find a way out in order to separate certain members from the group in order to take them on again. I mean, once she gets help from her friend, things start to turn around for her a bit. And obviously, Moira was a huge, or maybe it's Moria. No, it is Moira. Moira was a huge problem in this movie for both of them. Obviously, Julius didn't really have the greatest hand-to-hand combat skills, that's for sure. He just kind of had the biggest weapon in the room at the end of the movie, and it ends up backfiring on him anyway when the princess ends up just absolutely turning around and just chopping his head off. So they could have done that scene a bit differently, I think, because it almost looked a little too, like a little too fake in that one part. But I mean, I suppose that's kind of hard to do with perfect that type of animation, maybe. But yeah, this was a very action-packed movie from beginning to end, violent in its own right, bloody, but not like high levels of blood. So if you have a weak stomach, I wouldn't really say you have to worry about watching this movie. Like as far as it making you go ew kind of thing, like, because yeah, there was blood, but not enough to, not like King Arthur level of blood. If anybody remembers that movie with Clive Owen from back in the day, or from back in the early 2000s. Back in the day, oh my God, I say that too much. From back in the early 2000s, because that movie had, I don't know how many different versions it had. I think it had a rating from PG all the way to the rated R version, and then the unrated one, which is the one I have, which is the goriest version of them all. So yeah, it's kind of funny that they took that much time for that movie to create that many different versions of it. So but anyhow, yes, you learn how she was trained as a young girl in order to uh, become combat efficient, uh, and how she earned her weapon. And it was definitely cool watching her move through the castle, because obviously she knows all of the ins and outs and the whole like secret passageways, and that was definitely an advantage for her. But yeah, she definitely had some hard times when she had to jump out of the castle a few times and swing around from room to room outside on the wall, and jump down a few levels at one point when she was getting overwhelmed by all the soldiers. And yeah, this was just really well done, cool movie. And there was definitely a couple scenes in the movie where it's like, oh my God, is she gonna die? Especially when they were fighting Moira in the kitchen there, and she's getting hung with Moira's whip, and it's just like, yeah, I don't know, is she gonna actually make it out of this situation? And I thought her father was going to die near the end of the movie there when when Julius is able to take a swipe at him. I thought, uh-oh, she's either gonna lose her sister or her father, because Julius is trying to now just get her younger sister married with him so that I guess he can take over the kingdom. That was kind of his thing. But all of this started just because she couldn't actually go through with marrying him, so he ends up storming their castle when he comes back, and then obviously locking her up. And I guess his plan was eventually just to force the princess to marry him. That was the whole thing. And so yeah, this movie was definitely a bit darker than any other movie as far as princess movies go on Disney, I guess, but I guess it wasn't really hard to say because it wasn't really produced by Disney. It was produced by whoever, Hulu, right? And it also depends on who the director was, because I don't think the director was Lee Van Kite, or Lee Van Keet, maybe. Yeah, I don't really think the director was a Disney director. Let's just see what else she or he has directed. Oh, okay. So yeah, it kind of looks like this director is known for more horror style type movies. So that, I guess this kind of makes sense as to why this was a little bit darker, as opposed to, and slightly more violent, as opposed to, the other types of movies. Now, I've seen Joey King in other movies, obviously, but I would say this was probably one of her better performances, even though a lot of people don't agree with that statement, probably, just based on the reviews that I've read. But I mean, I feel like some of it was saying it was like it felt like a women empowerment film, but I didn't really get that from this film. Um, yeah, I don't really understand why people felt that way about this one, but yeah, anyway. Um, yeah, I didn't really see that in this one. This was just an action movie where she's just kicking ass the entire way down the tower. It's kind of weird to even have that thought as somebody who was watching this movie that this was about women empowerment. I feel like this was more about her trying to prove herself to her father, and so her father would actually see her as a, you know, what am I trying to say here? So her father would see her as a, I guess, would see her true self. Yeah, she was trying to show her true self to her father, I think, so her father would love her for who she was and not for who he wanted her to be. Because, yeah, I think he needed to see that she was able to hold her own, I guess. And he just wanted her to do what had been done for generations, right? The whole just get married and everything will be okay type situation. But obviously that was not going to be the case in this movie at all. So, yeah, her actually saving her family made her father realize that they didn't need a son to take over the throne, that she could do it all by herself. So I think he knights her at the end of the movie and makes her, yeah, that is what he did. He knighted her at the end of the movie and made her the next heir to the throne. So after he's gone, I guess it'll be probably a generation of women that takes over that kingdom, because once he's gone, I imagine she'll take over, and then her sister will probably take over after her, I would imagine. Now, her sister was super sneaky in the scene where they're in the church, I think, about to get married, or he thinks he's about to bring the princess down in order to get married, right? And then her sister sneaks in the weapon to Kai and starts that fight scene. And yeah, I almost thought that what's her face was gonna end up dying too. Her friend there. I almost thought Lynn was going to be killed at the very end of the movie too, but Kai pulls her out of battle after she gets wounded, so she got lucky as well. Now like I said, this got really bad reviews, and I don't understand why, because I thought it was an excellent movie. So the overall rating seems kind of low, but I mean it's a pretty brand new movie, so I imagine that might go up after more people have seen it. But the initial feedback was bad for what I thought this movie was and deserved. So I gave it a 9 out of 10 as opposed to the 5.5 out of 10 that I got on IMDb. And I feel that IMDb is one of the more trusted sources as far as ratings go, even though some people don't seem to agree with that. I mean, that's everybody's opinion, right? Because certain movies, obviously, you either agree with it or you disagree with it. Um, so yeah, it's gonna be based on your um, opinion, and I feel like mood really kind of dictates how you might perceive a movie, because that's kind of what I try to go based off of, like what I'm in the mood for. And yeah, this movie just kind of grabbed my attention when I seen the trailer for it, and I thought this looks like it could be a good movie, and it delivered on that, in my eyes anyway. So I gave it a 9 out of 10. I thought it deserved that. And honestly, I'm looking forward to Joey King kind of doing more action movies in the future, because I feel like this is kind of her. Like, I guess she was good in The Kissing Booth too, I guess. So maybe like romantic comedies and maybe like a romantic action comedy could be next for her. Somewhere in that mix. I think she needs to do more action movies. I think she's kind of found her niche with the action as far as that goes, because she did a really great job in this movie, and she was definitely fighting some guys that you wouldn't think um, she would have been able to defeat single-handedly, but I guess she had the combat advantage, right? Just slightly in some of those situations. And she was smarter. She was able to outsmart her opponents in a lot of the situations too, right? So it was kind of cool to watch, and the action scenes were filmed a little bit with the shaky cam, I kind of noticed. Because I watch another reviewer that brings that up a lot in certain movies, that the shaky cam thing needs to stop, but it wasn't overbearing in this movie. It was just kind of sometimes felt a little unnecessary, but some of the scenes were cool. It almost felt like this movie was almost done in like a one-shot type deal when the action scenes were going on. Now there might have been cuts, but it almost felt like it was just like so constant action from like scene to scene and room to room that it almost felt like it was just never ending when the action sequences were going on. So that was kudos to that, because I love my action movies, and I love to just see nonstop action when it feels necessary. So yeah, but for this movie, it really was a necessary thing for this movie to make it work, because otherwise it would have just been, well, they got married and now she's trying to get revenge. Yeah, that would have been I think that would have spoiled the story, because you are learning backwards as to what is going on. And I'm going to stop talking because I feel like I've actually looped around completely. So I will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye for now.